Dog ownership comes with many risks. A lot of these risks are hidden by society, directly or indirectly. One of the indirect ways is like what you're seeing here: pregnant human mothers with several dogs in their bed, on their couch, rubbing them, stroking them, allowing them to occupy their bedding. This is not good for the kids, and in this video, I'll explain to you why that is. So, first off, we got to learn about GABA, an important neurotransmitter. And dog ownership affects GABA in several ways. One thing about GABA: you can deplete your GABA levels by watching too much rapid movement. Most of the studies will say staring at your phone all day is the main culprit here, but a big part of this is people just staring at their dogs all day. Look over here, look over there, look over there. If there was a dog in this room right now, how would things be? We would be like this. Look over, there he goes, there he goes, there he goes. Sit down, stand up, get a treat. And that action on your eyes, didn't you kind of felt a little bit irritated there probably? Well, your GABA kicks in and helps those nerves chill out so you don't get eye damage. But there's no reason for us to overexcite our eyes, because as the studies already prove, low GABA activity is associated with various mental health issues. So, I hate dogs. Where are you at? Are you watching my videos? You talk about dog owners seeming stupid. Well, this is one of the routes that their brains get injured through dog ownership. So, another thing about GABA, a deficit in GABA, or the GABA neurotransmitters, it can lead to increased neuronal activity, causing conditions like anxiety, seizures, difficulties with sensory processing. It can contribute to developmental issues and cognitive impairments, especially in children. So we are focusing on children in this video because we're talking about the pregnant moms exposing themselves to things that mess with their GABA. So the prevalence of eye problems among US children is increasing. I've been watching this for a while. I did a video about a year ago about the myopia epidemic, which is nearsightedness, as they mention right here. But of course, like I mentioned earlier, check it out, they're going to blame screen time, right? Screen time, darting your eyes around, making your eye do extra work, making your nerves in your eye do extra work. But dog ownership affects GABA in many ways, and we're going to have a look at that. So they say that, according to this study from 2022, I like to look at studies from like a decade or so ago too, to see if anybody's picked up on this like I have, but they say this is preventable. And you look at some of the things here that they talk about: retinal prematurity, optic nerve hypoplasia. These are all developmental things that need GABA for these little kids. So, GABA plays a crucial role in maintaining optic nerve health by regulating neuronal activity, preventing overstimulation. Yeah, but disruptions in GABA can lead to impaired visual functions and contribute to conditions that affect the optic nerve. So, when you're staring at dogs, this is going to affect you. But there's also something else that affects this GABA, and we'll get to it here in a few slides. Low levels of GABA can contribute to retinal degeneration, and may play a role in conditions like diabetic retinopathy, because it disrupts the balance of excitatory and inhibitory signals in the retina. So GABA is very important because it's chilling the optic nerve down, basically. There's so many studies about this where you can go in here, like if you go into this study right here, click on it yourself and like keyword search for optic nerve or GABA, and you can really find how this works in your body. It's really actually very interesting if you're not too busy looking at your dog all day. But Look at what it says, guys. Cell death, worsening the condition. So the optic nerve doesn't even get a chance to like recover. If you read those studies, that's what GABA does. It helps that optic nerve chill out and helps it recover. And if your GABA system in your body is being hammered, or if you're developing inside of your mother and this GABA system is being hammered, you're going to have likely problems with your eyes when you're born or later on, because they're not going to develop as powerfully as they should. And GABA plays a crucial role in the development of vision in children by regulating the balance of excitation and inhibition. You might notice that these little summaries are like repeats. It's because I've keyword searched different studies just to kind of show you guys that this isn't just like something I cherry picked. This has been studied for decades and decades. We understand the role of GABA in the vision of children, but we're doing all these habits that mess with our GABA. Yeah. And it says here it's essential for experience dependent plasticity and visual processing. So it helps them understand what they're actually seeing. They're seeing this dog run around all over the house, and mom says, go to your room, leave the dog alone, pick up after yourself. And it's just getting stored in their memory as this like excited thing where they're supposed to deal with it, instead of their optic nerve being able to relax and like maybe read a book or talk to dad instead of watching that dog run all over the frickin' place. And the optic nerve, GABA is very important for the optic nerve itself. It's a critical role in regulating neuronal activity, overstimulation. Yep, it's the same thing basically. But if a disruption in GABA signaling, not just the presence of GABA, it will lead to impaired visual functions. So some things block GABA, and we still have a lot of GABA in our brain. But that's just as bad as reducing the GABA, because it's just impairing the functionality of GABA. Yep. And, we're talking about the optic nerve. Now, look, we're talking about the retina. It's another part of the eye. Again, it's the main inhibitory neurotransmitter, helping to regulate synaptic activity, maintaining the balance of excitatory signals and retinal circuits. Yep. So, are you getting the point yet? This stuff's pretty freaking important. And childhood blindness has been linked to nervous system problems, particularly conditions like the optic nerve, hypoplasia, and cortical system impairment. So GABA is an important part of what? What is it a part of? The nervous system. And look at these conditions they talk about. Optic nerve hypoplasia, cortical visual impairment. Let's go back a few slides. See? Those are the things that they're talking about. So, this is pretty obvious, but pregnant women should avoid neurodisruptive chemicals. BPA, bisphenol A, BPA. Like you can get bottles that are BPA free, and then you think you're being super healthy, but yet you're screwing with your GABA by owning dogs. Yeah. Another important part of this, as it applies to pregnant mothers, hormonal activity. When you're pregnant, you don't want to mess with your neurotransmitters, because that's going to mess with your child. Also, your hormone activity. Do you want to be consuming certain pesticides that it can interfere with hormonal activity? Pesticides, wait a minute, what are we talking about here? Well, let's keep learning about dopamine a little bit and GABA. So excessive dopamine can limit GABA activity. So that dopamine that we were talking about, that's what you get from constantly using your dog to get dopamine hits. Where's the dog going? Bring the dog over here, give him some treats, let him out, let him in, take a picture of him, share his pictures on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. Dog ownership is a huge constant dopamine hit. And it leads to a decrease in GABA. Yeah, let's go back to our pictures here. Yeah, you see these women? They're getting all these dopamine hits from the doggo pupper. Look at me, there he is. Oh, there he is. Look, he's out in the park. They're just getting dopamine hits from the dog, which means their GABA is going down. So we already know that exposure to certain pesticides can lead to serious eye injuries. Okay. Now, we're over to fipronil. It acts by blocking GABA receptors in insects, which can lead to neurotoxic effects. Its direct impact on GABA levels in humans and mammals is not well established. Actually, it is established, you just have to go into separate studies. This one is just a summary from Wikipedia and Frontiers. But without a doubt, this stuff messes with your GABA. You can go into any one of these studies and look it up. GABA receptors in the brain. So when you have a dog or you touch some dog that you saw, rubbing it, kissing it, bringing it in your bed, you're bringing all of that fipronil and major other antiparasitic drugs. Most of them affect GABA. You're bringing that into your bed, allowing your kids to pet on dogs, rub on their hair. The blue tit bird study has already proven that these drugs that we're giving dogs can get onto us and other creatures simply by touching their hair. And so, isn't it crazy that we have a huge GABA affecting drug that we give ourselves by touching our dogs? And blindness is going up in our kids and in our adults too. But the main thing that is really noticeable is children, because we don't expect children to go blind so early. And fipronil affects humans. There's study after study, but look at some of these side effects: nausea, sweating, vomiting, headache, agitation, weakness, seizure, eye irritation. So this can also get into your eye. If you're a little kid rubbing up on the dog, then you rub in your eye. Well, you're getting those toxic effects. And this one shows us that fipronil has been found in the liver, the kidney, the muscle, adrenal glands, in the fat. So, I mean, that's even worse for people that are obese. Their body is going to store it, and then they go do a fat burning exercise and they get a dose of fipronil. Wow. And even in the milk of lactating animals. So we know that this stuff can get into our organs, onto our skin, and everywhere else. So, knowing that we are in a myopia epidemic with little kids, knowing that these stupid mutts have this poison in them, why are we doing this? Why are we encouraging pregnant moms to be rubbing up on these dogs, transferring fipronil, a GABA killing antiparasitic drug, right into the bodies of our kids? Why are we doing that?